So in previous demos, we showed a lot of our base building and resource management mechanics. We are going to go deeper into the hero and leveling system right now. I don't know if I'll have time because I only have like 15 minutes, it's really short. I don't know if I have time to show you the base mechanics as well, but I'm going to try. Our whole experience is voiced. This is also in the full game, this will be possible. I'm going to skip through all the dialogue, so if you hear weird noises, that's me skipping through the dialogue, just so you know. So I start off with my hero party. I have my warrior Sentenza and my archer Flynn with me. One thing we really want to reward the player for is exploring the world. Exploring the world will earn you a lot of cool stuff, will earn you new items, new units for the campaign, upgrades for your army, all kinds of cool stuff. We really want you to explore our world and feel like you're a part of the world. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my first loot, and then I'm going to show you a bit of our equipment system. So bam, I'm going to loot this, and then of course I forgot to turn off the tutorials because that always happens. So I now have my first loot. This is my warrior. I'm going to equip him with a shield just to make him more of my tanky kind of guy because I want to keep my archer safe. You can see that also physically changes on the hero. This is with all equipment. This actually also happens with your RTS units. If you upgrade them, they will also change accordingly in the graphics. I'm going to go into my first combat, and our combat consists of what I like to call the triangle of combat. We have abilities, status effects, and weapon and armor types. First I'm going to show you the abilities, which are shown here on the screen. My warrior actually has a whirlwind ability, which does an AoE damage around him. And my archer has a heal ability, in which he needs to come in close and heal my warrior. This is kind of dangerous, since my warrior could get pinned down, so you need to be a little tactical when you use the abilities. Be advised that the whole interface is like completely mock-up. This will all change in the future. One important thing I do like to say is that the abilities need to be visible to the player at all time. We do not want you to be searching for your hero in a mass army and then having to click him to then click on the abilities. We really want you to be able to click the abilities at all time or use the shortcuts to use them. Our hero party will consist out of 4 heroes max, but there will be more heroes, so you can switch out the party and you can change the party accordingly. But as you can see, you have 3 active abilities at all times. 4 times 3 is still 12 abilities you can micromanage. I now leveled up, so I'll go a bit into the leveling system. As you can see, we have abilities and attribute points. I have 3 trees available to me. I only have 3 abilities for the demo, but it will be possible to create hybrids and create your own type of class thingy within these abilities. And these abilities are your tool set, which are then complemented by your attributes. So for my warrior, I'm going to do something simple. I'm going to give him an empower ability, which will make him do more damage. Because I already have more damage, I now give him constitution to make him more tanky. Now this is fairly standard, but you can also go a little funky with this. For example, my archer has a really cool ability that pierces all armor. And instead of giving him dexterity, which will just increase his right click damage, I'm going to give him willpower, which will increase the times I'm able to use this ability. And this is kind of the way how you can see that the abilities are being supported by the attributes, or you can counter out weaknesses you get by the abilities with your attributes. So this gives you a lot of freedom when you're building your character. So I'm going to kill a few more spiders, and then I'll loot another item in which with which I can show you the resistance mechanic. So the resistance mechanic, you have different types of weapons, and they all do a certain type of damage. This damage, like some enemies, are actually more resistant to certain types of damage. So you really have to think about, what's my plan when I go into this combat? What am I going to equip? How am I going to defeat this foe? And you do that with your abilities and the weapon and armor types, and finally the status effects, in which I will go a little deeper after the armor. So there we go. I'm going to loot myself a nice little halberd. I'm going to run to a big spider guy. So again, I can't stress this enough. It's a mock-up interface, so I actually have to click the spider to see the resistances. This will definitely change in the future. So I can see that he's resistant to pierce, slash, and blunt damage. At the moment I do slash damage, so unless I crit, I won't do a lot of damage, as you can see. Now if I equip the halberd, my damage will like greatly increase. So this is really how you need to approach combat. You can't just run in with your army and your heroes and just expect them, because there were many guys, they'll beat everything. Because not only do these armor and weapon types work on your heroes, but they also work on your units. So some units do pierce damage, some do slash damage, etc. We really want you to think about what you're doing and think about how you're going to approach combat. Now the last thing I unfortunately can't show in 15 minutes, but I can tell you about, are the status effects. So the status effects are the third thing in our triangle of combat, and they actually are buffs and debuffs that the enemies can do on you, or you can do on the enemies. One of the simple things, for example, we have a boss in the actual demo that will attack you and then spawn small spiders. He will do a debuff on you that will increase the damage these small spiders do. So it's up to you to cleanse this debuff off you as fast as you can. But it also goes a little deeper. My archer can actually do an ability that makes a target bleed. And my warrior can do an ability that if the target is bleeding, he will heal himself. So this way you really have to combo your abilities. You have to choose who you're going to pick for your party and how you're going to make them work together. So again, one big thing in the SpellForce universe is exploration. Another way that we show this, or one of the ways that we show this, is via things that you meet in the world. For example, I see that a battle has occurred here. It's up to me if I investigate this, yes or no. If I investigate this, it will actually open another dialogue option with the informant mage further down the road. And I can actually ask him about if he knows anything about this battle. So in a demo, this is just an extra dialogue option. But you can imagine that in the actual game, this can lead to a whole different storyline, to a whole different quest line, maybe even a map you wouldn't have come if you didn't explore the world. We also translate this into our quest system. We will have quests in there that actually do not have a quest log or an objective plinging on your map. It's just this information. For example, I find a statue that is missing an eye. And further down the road, I find a round glowing object. It's up to me to make this connection, like, hey, I found a round glowing object, there's a guy missing an eye, maybe I should try jamming it in there. There's no objective that tells me this, there's no quest log that tells me this. It's really up to the player to make these small puzzles count. And of course, these small puzzles will then reward you with cool items or cool upgrades. Our items won't be thrown in the world randomly, so we won't have like a gazillion items with all types of attribute points. We want items to be meaningful and mean something to you on an emotional level as well. Because you will be switching items a lot during the combat because certain damage types are needed. We really want you to have a lot of cool items that have a story behind them and maybe a really cool ability that can happen on hit. So you can see that I can now actually ask him about the dead mage that I just found down the road. So I'm gonna skip through this, and then I have about 5 more minutes. I'm gonna see if I can activate the base. If you have any questions, please shout, and I'll try to answer them. Else I'm just gonna keep going and hope to show you something about the base. Another cool thing is that our level is actually bound to our party and not to our heroes. So you are not going to grind out hero levels when you find a new guy. He will immediately be the same level as your party is. This is because we are focusing already so much on exploration and on finding your place in the world that we don't want you to be grinding your heroes out. We don't see that as a fun experience for the player. So I now have a Dark Mage, which actually has a really, really cool ability. Like the coolest ability we think in the office. He can actually make corpses explode. So I'm going to see if I can kill some guys and make the corpses explode. Abilities aren't just limited to your heroes. They actually also translate to your units. For example, if I use my Enrage 2 ability, it will do a small AoE around me that will also empower all my units. So all my units will get a small buff because my Sentenza, my warrior, is leading them. Another way, like this is a pretty simple way, but another way we can do this is just send in a really cheap army, let them all die, then explode their corpses. Like, it goes as far as that. You can use creative way to use abilities together with your units. So I'm gonna explode some corpses when this guy dies. Ba-boom! So that actually does an AoE damage to everything around it, and it also goes as far that it's a chain reaction. So if one corpse explodes, the next one too explodes as well. So you can make like really cool stuff with it. Sometimes mobs will also drop loot. Like, we're trying to make like the most meaningful loot ever possible, but it will be possible that just some masterwork blunt axe or something drops for you. Most of the loot that you find will have a meaningful place in the world though. So it might be that you have this really cool, awesome legendary weapon, which is a sword, and then you fight a golem that's actually immune to slash damage, like a metal golem, and you actually need to use that one rusty warhammer that you found somewhere. So I'm gonna activate the base now. Again, I don't know how much of this I can show, but I'm trying to show as much as I can. If you're more interested in this, if you want to know more, you can always book a private appointment with us. We're happy to talk about SpellForce, of course. We have 6 booths in the public area. So if you got the time, seriously play the demo, it's awesome. This whole demo that I'm playing right now is just fully functional, fully playable. And just as a heads up, we're planning to release in 2017. So it's coming. So the way our base mechanics work, we work in sectors. You can see that I actually have a border to where I can build within this sector. Within this sector I can freely build buildings, and I can freely mine the resources that are there. To mine resources, I actually have to use my workers. So each sector has a specific amount of workers depending on the base that's standing there. This is already like a huge base, so you already have a lot of workers. I assign these workers to buildings that will then start gathering resources for me. So I assign them to the hunting cabin and to the woodcutter, and they will start gathering wood and meat for me. This means I don't have to micromanage my workers all the time. We find this important because we play a more economical and strategic way in our RTS mechanics, and we don't want you to have to micromanage everything alongside with your heroes, alongside with the dialogue, alongside with everything you're doing in the world. This is to relieve some of the stress, but make it more tactical instead of more micromanage heavy. I need to be careful because if all my workers are busy, I won't have any workers available to actually bring resources around my base. All the workers that are unassigned are actually bringing resources around to the buildings that need them. So this means I have to strategically think about where I actually place my workers, because it is possible that I don't have any workers available anymore. And then it becomes time to make tactical decisions. What do I need now? Do I need to build an army? Do I need to build a settlement? Do I need more wood? Do I need more food? I can also go, my workers are pretty smart, because I can also start building like units, and you will see that my food will actually go into the minus. So I'm queuing up these units, and they will start building as soon as they get food to start building with them. But as long as my workers are gathering food, they will start bringing the food resource to the barracks, and they will make sure my army is being built. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoy SpellForce as much as we do, and maybe we'll see you around. Thank you.